Hey everyone! If you're brand new to Blender, we have a several episode series that covers some of the basics of Blender, and how to make several different types of cows. Those should hopefully give you a jump start. Also, have I mentioned to you that Blender is a completely free program. You can download it right now at blender.org, which I'll hopefully remember to link to in the description. Blender gets fairly frequent updates, so things get added and changed from time to time, however the basic ideas remain the same. Let's get started. By default, the hide and viewport toggle is the only filter enabled in the outliner. As a personal preference, I like to enable a few more options. In the outliner, click the filter drop-down menu and enable the viewport and render toggles. For now, let's disable the visibility of the default cube. Let's begin by adding our character reference into several new collections. Numpad 5 to go into ortho view, Numpad 1 to go into front view. Shift A to add a new object, select image reference, navigate to where your front reference is saved. In the outliner, right-click to create a new collection and drag your reference image into this new collection. Rename this collection to something that makes sense to you. I call mine Reference 1. Original. Create another new collection, maybe call it Reference 2. We don't need the default scene light, so right-click it in the outliner and choose Delete. You can set up your outliner hierarchy however you want. I chose to move my reference collections out of the main collection. Now is as good a time as any to name your reference. Remember to name your objects frequently so you don't forget what they are. Hit numpad 3 to go into right ortho view, hit Shift A, and add the left reference. Hit numpad 7, go into top ortho view, and add the top reference. Select the second reference collection under the filter drop-down menu. Enable the selectability toggle. This will allow us to make our reference unselectable, so we don't accidentally move it around. You can also click the checkbox next to the collection to temporarily disable it entirely. Hit numpad 1 to return to front ortho view, add the back reference. Hit Ctrl numpad 3 to go into left ortho view, add the right reference. Hit Ctrl numpad 7 to go into bottom view, add the bottom reference. In my experience, the more reference you have, the better, especially when you're trying to create something that very closely matches something else. So now we've got all of our reference in our scene, let's move them into locations where they might be the most helpful. I personally like to set my reference up as follows. Move the bottom reference up on the Z-axis by hitting G and Z, the right reference off to the side on the X-axis, and the back reference forward on the Y-axis. Disable the second reference collection and enable the first one. Enable its selectability, move the front reference back, the top reference down, and the left reference off to the side. Re-enable the second reference collection, and you should have a group of reference that looks something like this. Now we'll be able to enable and disable our reference and work on our model without stuff being too in the way. When they're in position, re-disable the selectability of your reference, and disable the second reference collection for now. Hit numpad 1 to go back into front view. You can tell what view you're in the upper left corner. The reference is all set up, so let's start modeling. There's no right or wrong way to model something. As long as you end up with the shapes and topology you want, you're good. So if at any point in this process, if you have your own ideas on how to do something that you want to try, feel free to deviate. Shift A, add a circle, adjust the vertices to 10. In object mode, position it in front view so that the object origin lines up with about the center of the boot. Position it in side view as well. You can see the coordinates of my object in the side end panel. Tab into edit mode and make sure all vertices are selected. Selected vertices are highlighted in orange. You can select all with A and deselect all by double tapping A or hitting Alt A. With everything selected, scale down to match the shoe. The shoe isn't quite circular, so let's make some small edits to taper the back a little. Select these 4 side vertices and scale down slightly on the X-axis by hitting S and X. I ended up scaling by about 0.964 as you can see in this upper corner. Or down here in this box after the edit is made. In side view, grab these vertices and move them slightly forward on the Y-axis. I'll disable the reference so you can get a good look at the shape I'm going with for now. In side view, select everything and extrude down to about here with E. Scale down with S. Add an edge loop down the middle with Ctrl R, confirm placement by left clicking, and scale it up slightly with S. Alt select a horizontal edge on the upper edge loop to select the entire loop. Extrude up with E and scale down to match the reference. In the upper right hand corner of the viewport, click this icon to go into wireframe mode. With this upper loop still selected, hit E and extrude down to about here. Hit M and choose Merge at Center. Grab this vertex on the Y axis and move it back a little bit. And that's pretty much it. You just kind of keep doing that to finish the model, and I think that's where we're going to call the end of the Marnie series. Just kidding. One thing that you might find helpful is to make the reference images slightly transparent in the viewport. This is pretty easy to do. Enable the selectability of your reference real quick, select one, under this Object Data Properties tab, check Transparency, and adjust it to whatever you'd like. This will keep your reference from obscuring your model, and is also a pretty neat party trick. Continue doing this for all your reference if you so choose, and don't forget to turn off the selectability afterwards. Alright, back to the shoes. The main shoe shape is a fairly complicated piece of geometry that we can construct in many different ways, but Blender can help us build it fairly simply. I almost added another cube, but we don't have to. Re-enable the visibility of the default cube so that it can live out its life as Marnie's shoes. Select the cube in object mode and tab into edit mode. Select all with A and position so the bottom lines up with the bottom of her shoes. Hit C to circle select the top 4 vertices. Hit escape afterwards to close circle select and move these vertices down to about the top of her main shoe shape. Circle select the back 4 and move them forward, and move the front vertices back to about here. I changed my mind and move the back vertices forward to about here. Select these 2 upper vertices and position them around here. Move these 2 to about here. Go into the modifier tab and add a subdivision modifier. I disable optimal display as a personal preference. Modifiers allow us to non-destructively modify our object's geometry without affecting the base geometry of our object. Select these 4 front vertices, hit E to extrude them forward, position like so. And move these top 2 vertices down a bit. Position everything to your liking. Select these back 4 and extrude them to maybe about here. Add an edge loop with Ctrl R around here, and move these 2 upper vertices down to about here. The shape is getting close, so let's add an edge loop along the bottom to sharpen that edge. I haven't changed from side view for a while, so I'm a bit scared to look. And it's terrible! Select all with A and scale down on the X axis by hitting S and X. Then reposition by hitting G and X. The bottom reference might be more helpful for the shoe shape, so let's switch to the second reference collection. Move and scale on the X axis to more closely match the shoe shape. Ctrl R to add an edge loop here, and here. Make sure to take ample time to admire everything from multiple directions and viewport shading modes. Use circle select to select these 12 vertices, which look like 6, but we added an edge loop earlier. Scale down on the X axis. Circle select and scale the tip of the shoe down on the X axis as well. Select these 2 vertices, and these 4, move them in on the X axis to match the reference. Move the top 2 in more, and these 2 as well. Switch to face select and select and delete this face. So here's our shoe so far. It's looking pretty alright already. Switch back into vertex select, select and move this vertex on the X axis. I carefully circle selected these 4 vertices and then just kinda looked at my shoe for like an hour. This part's optional. Re-enable the first reference collection. Shift A, add a cone, change the vertices to 8. In wireframe view and object mode, rotate this cone like so. Position and scale it down to match the reference. Scale down on the X-axis so its shape more closely matches the reference. In edit mode, select the top vertices and double tap G to slide them down here. In object mode, try to position it roughly in the center of the shoe. Again, just take your time admiring your shoe forever. The tip of her shoe points in slightly. Select these 4 vertices and move them in on the x-axis to match the reference. Time to make the thing that wraps around the shoe. Shift A, add a circle. Rotate by 90 in side view. In object mode, position it about here and scale down. In edit mode, scale on the x-axis by 0.754, I guess. And extrude back about this much. Rotate by 45 degrees in side view and position to match with the shoe band. Circle select these bottom 6 vertices and delete them with X. Our shoe band is clipping into our shoe a bit, so let's fix that. Select this vertex in edit mode. Hit O to enable proportional editing. Proportional editing uses a fall-off setting to edit nearby vertices as well, allowing you to easily create smooth vertex transformations. Move on the X-axis while scrolling the mouse wheel to adjust the proportional fall-off. Select and move this vertex up. Keep adjusting to remove the clipping, but not too much. That looks good to me! In object mode, select this original upper piece and tab into edit mode. With proportional editing still on, grab this back vertex and move it up on the Z axis, adjust the fall off like so. We're going to use this upper shoe object as the beginning of our shoe retopo object, and we'll use the other objects as guides to create one solid mesh for our shoes. During this process, we'll alternate between various snapping settings to build our new mesh. Enable snapping and select face. Select this vertex and extrude down. With snapping to face active, the new vertices will snap to the existing faces. Select and extrude down this entire edge of vertices one by one. Now select these 4 vertices and hit F to create a face. Select these 2 vertices and hit F to have Blender Smart Fill a face. Do the same thing the whole way around. It's going to get hard to see what's going on with our new geometry, so go into the Object Properties tab and under Viewport Display, enable in front. Also, under this drop-down menu, select Backface Culling. So now our retopo object projects through the other objects. Select this back vertex and change the snapping to vertex mode. Extrude down and snap to this already existing vertex, continue to extrude and snap your way down. Do the same on both sides. I've decided to go with less geometry, so select these 3 vertices, hit X and choose Dissolve Vertices. Change snapping to edge or face, and extrude this vertex to the back of the heel spike. Extrude these sides out as well. Change back to vertex and extrude out 2 more vertices on this side. And the same on this side. Change snapping to face and extrude like so. Adjust some stuff. Just use the spike as a guide. Make any changes you feel necessary. Select these two vertices and smart fill in faces with F. Fill in these back faces like so. Select this front vertex, change snapping to vertex, and extrude out vertices onto this band object. Do the same on both sides. Change snapping to face and extrude these front vertices down onto the shoe. Select and fill in faces. It's currently hard to tell where the faces exist and where they don't. On later objects I made some changes to make it easier to see. Select all with A and hit Alt-N. Select recalculate normals outside. This will make sure our faces are pointing in the right direction. Keep filling in faces. Select this vertex, extrude and snap out onto the rest of the band with vertex snapping. Change back to face snapping, and extrude these vertices onto the main shoe. Fill in faces as you go, and adjust positioning. When backface culling is active, if a face's normals are flipped, they'll be invisible from your perspective, so frequently recalculate normals outside. Fill in the rest of these faces. Extrude out this vertex and fill in the face, and the same on the other side. Select this vertex, change snapping to vertex, and extrude out onto this corner. Fill in the face. Select this vertex again, turn off snapping entirely, and pull it out on the X-axis to make this shape look nicer or whatever. Move it around as needed. Do the same on the other side. Select these two and hit F. Autofill didn't quite work this time, so undo with Ctrl Z, select the 4 vertices and hit F. Make any small changes to smooth things out, probably want to turn off snapping for this part. Turn snapping to face back on, and reposition these vertices. Switch back to edge snapping and make this final corner. Fill in the face with F. Select these 4 vertices and make a face with F. Select these 4 vertices and make a face. Select these 2 and join with J. This will divide the faces into 2 faces. Do the same on the other side. Select the 4, hit F, select the 2, and hit J. Change to face snapping and reposition these vertices. Now fill in the faces. Disable snapping and move these front vertices to relax this edge. Select these 4 vertices and make a face. Try to line everything up so it's somewhat even on both sides. Hit Ctrl R to add an edge loop down the middle of the bottom. Select this corner vertice and extrude inwards like so. Do the same on both sides. Enable snapping and snap these new vertices to the bottom of the shoe. Fill in the faces. Change snapping to vertex and extrude this vertex down to the tip of the heel spike. Now fill in the spike with faces. Select all and recalculate normals outside with Alt-N. I ended up turning off the in-front option for some reason. Select the vertex and extrude to the front of the bottom of the shoe on both sides and fill in the face. Turn back on in front. Select this vertex and extrude it to about here on the shoe. Do the same on both sides and fill in the face. Add an edge loop down the middle with Ctrl R. Snap to these vertices. Extrude out a vertex here and fill in this face. Select all and recalculate outside. Add an edge loop to the bottom. Select this vertex, change snapping to face. Extrude out and position some vertices. Change snapping to vertex to get this middle vertex. Back to face and do the other side. Go into left view and position to match the other side. Fill in these faces. Extrude this vertex forward to about here and fill in these faces. Do the same on the other side. Select this middle vertex and extrude forward to about here. Extrude out more vertices and fill in the faces. Make some tri-faces here on both sides. Change snapping to vertex to extrude this middle one. Back to face snapping and make a few more faces. That looks pretty good, so disable the rest of the shoe objects, and here's our shoe! Select all and shade smooth. I have a vertex in the middle here that needs to go or else this face has 5 vertices, which is too many! So select these 2 vertices and join with J. Do the same on the other side. Switch to edge select this edge, hit X and dissolve edges. I want to give our shoe back some definition. Shift select these edges. Go into the Modifier tab and add an Edge Split modifier, disable Edge Angle. Hit Ctrl E and select Mark Sharp. Edges marked as sharp will have a light blue outline. And now this edge isn't smooth shaded. Hold Alt and select this edge to select the entire edge loop, mark as sharp. Select these edges and mark them as sharp as well. Alt select this upper loop and mark as sharp. Do the same with the edge between the heel and the shoe. At some point, I added an extra edge here. So in edit mode, select all with A and merge by distance with M. Everything looks pretty good, but I'll probably add an edge loop to the heel for good measure. Since it comes to a merged point, Ctrl R won't work, but we've got another option. Go into wireframe mode and select the knife tool. Disable occlude geometry and click drag here to cut in an edge loop. Switch back to a selection tool. Turn back on the reference and make sure everything lines up. Adjust as needed. Our shoe is looking pretty good, but my outliner is getting a little messy, so let's clean it up. Create a new collection and name it something like Archive. Rename all the objects into whatever makes sense to you. Select these old shoe objects in the outliner and move them into the Archive collection. And then I just put my Archive collection into the main collection so I don't have to look at it. Rename the shoe object. Add a mirror modifier. It doesn't look like it's doing anything yet because my object origin is in a weird place. Hit Shift S and choose Cursor to World Origin. Now we can either set our origin to the cursor or add a new object to serve as the mirror point. Hit Shift A and add an empty plane axis. Disable its visibility in the outliner and put it into the main collection. Select our shoe again, and in the mirror modifier, click the mirror object field and select the empty, which is called empty003 in my case since I forgot to name some of my references. And now my shoe is mirrored. Now is as good a time as any to name those reference images. Looks like our shoes are lined up pretty nicely. Mirror objects are handy. In most cases, once you've finished modeling, you'll want to apply your object's location by hitting Ctrl A in object mode and choosing location, and then removing the mirror object from the modifier. Create a new collection for Marnie's objects and drag the shoes in. The shoes are close to done. They just need the little circle details now, which are pretty easy. Shift A, add a circle. Change to 12 vertices. In edit mode, add another circle with Shift A, change to 6 vertices. Go into top ortho view with numpad 7. Rotate the 6 vertex circle by 30 degrees, scale by 0.586 and connect with faces like so. Select all and hit Alt-N, choose Recalculate Outside. Select this inner circle, extrude and merge at center with M. Recalculate inside, I guess in this situation. Select the middle vertex, go into front view, turn on proportional editing, and change to spherical fall off. Adjust the fall off and move this middle vertex up. You can see the exact details in this box over here. Fill in the back faces like so. Turn on the first reference collection, select the new object and go into edit mode again. Rotate by -90 degrees, position and scale it to match the reference. Select all and duplicate with Shift D, rotate by 180 degrees, and move it over to the other side. Go back into the shoe object and turn off in front in the object properties. Go into this drop down menu and choose random. Shade smooth. Change the edge select the outer edge and mark sharp. Add an edge split modifier. Mark the edge on the other object as well. Position it to match the reference. Select a piece of this object and hit Ctrl L to select all, duplicate it with Shift D and move it off to the side. Rotate and position to get it into place. Select and delete these back edges. Select this entire object again. In front view, rotate by 90 degrees. And rotate by 90 degrees in top view. In side view, rotate by 45 degrees. Position it to match the reference. Select this middle edge and hide it with H. Select these two vertices, enable proportional editing, turn on Connect It Only, and scroll the mouse wheel to adjust the fall off. Try to match the reference. Unhide with Alt-H. Adjust so that nothing clips into the shoe. Select these 4 vertices, turn off proportional, and in side view, position to smooth out the edge. Select all and rotate if needed to match the reference, and adjust everything. Alt-select the outer edge and extrude. Hit M and merge at center. In side view, move this new vertex back a little. In the outliner, select the shoe and shift-select the detail object, join them into one object with Ctrl J. And there we have it, Marnie's shoe. Thanks for watching. Let us know how you feel about the new format. If you enjoyed, leave us a like, or subscribe if you're not already, and feel free to ask any questions you may have along the way. Stay safe, I love you all, goodbye.